Good evening to everybody, and I think this might be my third time on RATPAC. I thank Dan and for the invitation. One of my greatest challenges in this program is to get the word out. So whenever I get invited, uh, I accept it, and I also do lots and lots of Zoom meetings because that's what it takes. That's what it takes to get the word out, and I love doing it. And I've this is we'll be going into my fourth year as program administrator of the DX Marathon. So I put together a slide presentation here, and I'm going to make it flow pretty quickly. I realize the audience, as I was mentioning to Dan, is comprised of people that have no idea what DX Marathon is. There's probably people out there that have heard of it. There's probably people that are actively participating, like Anthony, and and so there's a wide spectrum. So I'm going to just kind of make it general, and I'm going to hit on some new things that we're doing. And I'm a relatively conservative type person, and in all my business dealings, um, I make incremental changes when things are working very well. I don't like to make drastic changes, i.e., if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I realize that the environment changes all the time, that the participants change, and as we try to grow the program, which is one of my visions for the DX Marathon program, I've got to make sure that I'm adding value to the participants and potential new participants. They got to want to do this. If I can't demonstrate why this is something that is fun and it's self-satisfying, then I'm not going to have people participate. So I look at my participants as my fellow ham radio operators throughout the world as my customers, as my potential participants. And I try to keep that frame in my mind all the time as I'm talking about the program. And I think it's worked. Uh, I'll talk a little bit about 2025 results as we get through towards the end of the presentation. We're only 2 weeks into the scoring. We take almost through the 1st of March or so scoring. But I can tell you that since I've been in the program, we've more than doubled the participant level. And last year, year over year, 25 versus 24, we had a 35% increase in participation. That's in a hobby. If you think about our hobby's not really growing. So I'm happy with double digit growth. That means I'm touching more people and hopefully bringing value to what they're doing in this wonderful hobby called ham radio. So let me move on, or I'll never I'll never get through this presentation. Um, I think some know me. I've been in this wonderful hobby for 63 years, and I continue to enjoy it. I've been retired 7 years. I was an EVP for the last 20 years of my career in the power generation business. Traveled all over the world, met many hams all over the world, and I celebrated my 50th wedding anniversary with my wife last year. This last December it was 51, and I have two grown adult children. So, as I mentioned, we are an amazing program, and we kind of sometimes we call ourselves a contest. I had a big discussion with one of the ARRL. You're not a contest. You're not a contest. Well, actually, we are a contest, and we have rules and we have awards, and it's just that our contest lasts a year. Okay, and not 48 hours like a typical contest. So, and as I mentioned our growth numbers, I can say without question that we're the fastest growing ham radio DX program in the world today, and we have been for the last 4 years. So we're kind of proud of that. So what is it real quickly? It's an annual program. It's for people interested in DX. You get on the air and you work as many of the DXCC entities as you can. You get 1 point for every one you work. You get 1 point for every zone you work, and you add the score together, and that's your score. There's no multipliers. It's very, very simple. Uh, we do not require confirmations. No QSL required. It's an honesty program. If you say you worked a Q, you log it, and then we do some validation. I'll talk about that in a little bit to keep everybody honest. But basically, it's very the program is designed so it's extremely simple. There's not a lot of overhead. It's a great reason to get on the air and work DX. And um, as I said, it can be a contest. We have very competitive people, but for the 7 years that I did it before I actually became program administrator, I did it not because of competition. I wanted to bring serenity into my life after I retired. I did it just as a self-evaluation tool to see how I did year over year in working DX. And every single year I did a little bit better, which means I was spending a little bit more time chasing DX. Nothing wrong with that. I had improved my skills in DXing. I had improved my stations, my antennas, and everything else. So, to me and many, if you don't like the competition, if you're not a contester, it's still a lot of fun, and you can just do it as a metric. And we try to design the classes so that you can get we kind of look at if you're running 100 watts and you have a vertical or a long wire antenna, you can compare how you did against your peers throughout the world with similar operating conditions. So it gives you a metric on how are you doing. No complicated rules at all. Uh, Let me just skip over this one in the interest of time. Okay, how does it work? I pretty much explained that. There's 340 DXCC entities. To that, we add six of the worked all Europe entities. So we have 346 possible entities, and then 1 point apiece. And of course, not all of those are activated. Many of those are, you know, they're QRV de-expeditions like Bouvet and Crozet and many others, and they're not always activated. So uh, never will you see 346 entities occur in any given year. You will see 40 zones pretty much every year. I can't remember a single year where we have not had an active station in each of the 40 zones. So that's how the scoring is. And actually, in 2025, these WAE entities, every single one of them were active. That is, they had operators, except for number six. Bear Island, IOTA EU 027, did not have an operator in 2025. So five out of the six were, in fact, activated or were there was an operating station located in one of those entities. The beauty about this program, it's inclusive of every band, 6 meters through 160, including the work bands, which I love. I love working the work bands. So, in a contest, you don't get to work bands. In the DX Marathon, you can work bands. No contacts through repeaters or satellites are allowed. No maritime mobile because we're trying to create level playing fields. No aeronautical mobile, and of course, no contacts through digital DMR or Echolink. Okay, very simple to understand. I won't go through these, but basically, we tranche the classes to try to levelize and make them equal. So whatever your operating conditions is, if you're competing or if you're comparing yourself against others, it will be with similar operating conditions. If you're running 100 watts, if you got a long wire or a vertical, that's going to be your formula class, for example. Uh, Again, I'm not going to get into this. We subdivided a few of these this year. This is these next two slides are really, really kind of unique and important. Uh, this program has something for everybody. If you just like to work a single band, we have people that love to work 60 meters. You can enter in 60 meters only. If you like to work 40 meters, you can enter in 40 meters. If you like to work 160 or 6, you can enter only in those bands as well. Similarly, I love CW. If you are a CW ops member, for example, and or if you're not, doesn't matter, but you love CW, you can actually enter in CW mode only, or sideband, or digital. We have people entering in digital only. So you can pick a mode, you can or pick a band, and then I'm going to talk about this. Uh, I talked a little bit about this with Dan earlier on, but the this is a tremendous tool for club leadership. You know, clubs. I did over 100 club Zoom meetings. Just about missed one tonight. Over the last year to 15, 16 months. And I'll tell you, clubs are not doing well these days. Leadership needs ways to engage membership. You know, people don't get excited coming to a club meeting once a month and listening to a treasurer's report and really just kind of shooting shooting a you know what, and there's no engagement. This what we're seeing is that a lot of clubs are taking DX Marathon and they're putting it on their agenda, and everybody comes to the club meeting with their reports on new CW prefix entities or zones that they're working, and they're building up as a team because I built the club competition over the last 4 years. It's exploding right now, and it's a fun thing to do, and it engages people within a club to do something together. We have a web page. I've talked about this before. It's www.dxmarathon.com. This is one of these web pages that we're actively managing it literally every day. It has current information. We have things like pirate calls, valid calls, and all kinds of stuff that helps people that are interested in doing DXing. Uh, to submit, we have developed 3 years ago a submission tool. You can write each and everybody that's listening to this now or later, okay, is in the program. There's no fee required, there's no sign up required. You just go to this page, which is entry.dxmarathon.com. You take your log, even 21 days into January, you generate an ADIF file, you save that into your downloads or wherever, and you go to this entry.dxmarathon.com, you hit load ADIF or XLS files. It'll ask for that file. You click on your file and you have just made a submission, and you're going to get a beautiful report listing all 346 entities and which ones you've worked and the station's name and a bunch of other information. And that's it. That is it. If you do that, uh, 21 days after the new year, you have just made an entry. You can do that as many times as you want, all the way through December 31st, 2026, which every successive submission updates and keeps your latest one. Okay? Very, very simple. Every one of your club members, even if they're not high powered DXing, they can do this and put their calls in and nominate and name their club, and they've just contributed to the club total. Okay, very, very simple. This is the kind of reports you get. Okay, it's very extensive. Okay, let me just move along. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we have an honesty system. Uh, in fairness to those people that are being honest, we do check logs. We have a lot of ways that we can check submissions rather. I get I get ADIF files from many of the expeditions. They gladly give them to me. So we do, without getting into much detail, in order to protect the people that are playing by the rules, sometimes we find people that don't play by the rules and we take action. Normally, if it's not a serious infraction, we just deduct a point from them for every infraction, claimed cue that really they didn't work. Okay. Or if they make a mistake on identifying an improper zone or an improper prefix, we deduct certain violations. It could be consequences could be more severe. Okay. So we expect people to adhere to the rules, and we do this verification to protect those 99% who do adhere to the rules. Okay. We have plaques, we have certificates. I'm going to talk about that. Just a couple. Pia, DL7 PIA, she has won. We have a youth program. She has won number one world youth for 2 years in a row. And 2026, she's looking pretty good too. 17-year-old young lady in Germany. She is a CW operator. She's the total package. I've referred her to a couple podcasts, and she is a very talented young lady. This and WA1S on the other side of the state of Florida. By the way, I'm in Port St. Lucie or Florida on the Atlantic coast, about 60 miles north of West Palm Beach. Ann is over on the Gulf Coast. She won number one YL in the world. She's a very active. Here is we have continent winners. This happens to be Sergey from Russia. R6YY won the highest score in EU. Uh, Here's one of these crazy guys that loves single bands. He won number one in the world, 6 meters, PY2XB. That's Fred. And here's another one of those crazy guys that loves 60 meters. And he won HA5WA, won number one, 60 meters. We give plaques of certificates out. Uh, every country winner uh, gets a beautiful certificate, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Sunspots, I'm just going to touch on this. Yeah, it's been real good for the marathon, cycle 25. It peaked in the summer of 24, but you know what? It's still really good out there. We got another few years of great propagation. Um, there's a little. I had Frank W3LPL on to do a podcast to whoever of our participants that wanted to listen. He, by the way, if you've not ever heard him give a talk on solar cycles, you need to do it. He is very knowledgeable, but this is the peak in 24. But you can see we have a very slow roll off, so it's going to be good. Uh, High score analysis. I find this kind of interesting. I'm gonna go over this real quickly. Uh, 346 entities. So the maximum possible score in the program is 386. Of course, nobody ever gets that. Let's just look at the last 3 years. 2023. Remember, I said many of these 346 they have to be activations. There was 296 activated in 2023 plus 40 zones. So the maximum, let me move this down here, maximum score, possible score was 336. The winner of the unlimited class actually scored 329, only missed seven of the activated entities. Moving to 2024, we were down a little bit. There was only 286, 40 zones, 326, and the winner only missed eight. And we're early on in 2025, but you can, whoops, what happened? Uh, you can see Actually, we're down again this year, only 275. I don't know if this is a trend. That just means that less and less de-expeditions are occurring, okay, for whatever reason. Will they be up in 26? I don't know. I know these expeditions, de-expeditions are very expensive. But anyway, that's kind of how that works. And we are a international program. About one third of the participants are in the U.S., North America, and two-thirds are international. North America is the largest continent. South America is very active, particularly in Brazil, and then they go down from there. I've got to do some work in some. Uh, Believe it or not, Cycle 25 have boosted scores. We look at 300 as an absolute excellent, excellent, excellent score. Less than 5% ever achieve 300 in their lifetime, actually, of the participants. You can see in 2024 3, we had almost 100 participants achieve 300 or more. Again, as cycle 25 starts to roll down, you'll see some roll off in those scores. I could also say cycle 25 has been great, uh, provided great propagation for 10, 12, and 15 meters. Last year, 50% of all the cues, 350,000 cues, were on those three bands. So as we see cycle 25 go down, we're going to see some movement away from those bands, of course. Okay, I'm looking at. We did something. Remember earlier on, I said we don't like to make drastic changes. We like to make incremental changes. So we decided in 2025 to do what we called a sprint, and this was a 10-day program. It was wrapped around the CW. I mean the CQ Worldwide SSB contest in October. We wanted to get people's feet wet in what the marathon was all about. So that's how the idea of sprint came along. It was a 10-day window where you would we dumbed down the rules. We made them a little easier, 6 classes, but basically you just went out and worked as many DX entities and zones as you could, and you submitted them. Everybody used the submission tool, and anyway, we did that, and no registration required, and it was a lot of fun. And on this particular event, we generated and guaranteed that everybody who participated would get a certificate. I'm going to show you a copy of that in a second, but I got this idea at Dayton last year, and it was a brilliant idea. And I think it's so brilliant that for 2025, for the whole year marathon, we're going to do the same thing. Every single participant will get a certificate of participation, and it will list on that certificate that person's most significant accomplishments, whether you're number one in your zone or you're number one in your 3 call area or whatever. Okay. Uh, this is, it's not, it's a pretty good copy of the person that won the sprint, EA1DR. And as you can see, it goes down under the line. He was number one person in Unlimited. He was number one in Europe. He was number one in Zone 14, and he was number one in Spain. So every person who participates, my IT guy is a genius, and he figured out how to process all this information and cherry pick out those most relevant accomplishments that each participant has in the program. And you can take this, you can download it, you can frame it, you can put it up in your QRZ page. You know, I said earlier, what value can we provide? I think this person that gave me this idea uh, had a brilliant idea, and I latched on to it, and I think it really fueled our 2025 growth. And I'd have no way to tell, but I think it did. Okay. Uh, Once you submit, you get confirmation back that your submission was accepted. So it doesn't go into a deep, dark hole. Uh, if I take one of these calls, KQ4Y, it said that he submitted on the 30th of December 2025 at 12:34:35 seconds. If you submit and you go to click the other red button on the submission, you should see your call and you can say, I just made a submission. Very simple. Okay. Uh, what are we doing in 2026? I got a big focus on clubs, and I've got a sort of a personal interest in this because through clubs I see growth. Through clubs I see a lot of participation. So I've enhanced the clubs. Every clubs are tranched by size of club. If you have 25 or less people in your club, submitted, you can win a plaque. If you have 50 and less, if you got 75 and less, if you got 75 and more, if you're international, I got a lot of plaque sponsors. 100% certificate receipt will happen in 26, as was the case in 25. Um, we're trying to raise funding to increase participation in less represented countries of the world. We have some significant lack of participation. JAs, for example, JAs probably have the second largest per, on a country basis number of active hams in the world, and their participation is abysmal in DX Marathon. Certain EU countries are very bad also. So I need some additional funding to try to penetrate those markets. I'm creating ambassadors to go in to Hamfest and try uh, to try to become active and to spread the word about DX Marathon. I'm going to focus on contesters. You know, there's no you can run a contest. Everything you run in a contest can be applied to DX Marathon. They're not mutually exclusive. We got a lot of seniors in our hobby. Dan and I were talking about, we got a lot of aged folks. Average age in the U.S. is approaching 80. Are seniors getting tired? A lot of seniors have DXCC. They're on honor roll, or and everything else. This is a way to kind of invigorate them to, hey, I can do this every year. Reset the clock. It's kind of exciting. I personally have a desire to increase CW operations in our program. About 14% of the 350,000 Qs we did last year, 2024, were CW. I'd like to boost that to 20. We're going to probably do another sprint in 2026. And the other thing we're doing is we're really going to, uh, we try to create a level playing field in this program or contest. And, many people are operating remotes, and we don't mind. I have a remote station in Florida. That's okay, as long as that's the only station I'm using. But what we're seeing is certain people are working uh, other remotes or their own remotes and commingling data, and we're going to put some severe penalties in if we get people doing that. Uh, Other noteworthy mentions in 2025, we became a 501c3 entity. What does that mean? It means you guys that have 401ks or you have minimum distributions, you could throw a little money our way, and we would love to see that because I really need some funding now to try to bolster some of these underrepresented areas, and so keep that in mind. If you just want to make a contribution, even $5 or $10, there's a place on the web page we can use that. We always are in need of sponsors. If you want to sponsor a plaque, it's if your club or if we have many personal sponsors, they just write out a check for $100 or your club for $100, and you have your name or your club name on a plaque, and you can be a sponsor. So there's ways to do that. And we would not have a program without our sponsors. So they're very important. Uh, we have corporate sponsors. And I'm proud to say that Ray of ICOM stepped up and he has become a corporate sponsor, a platinum sponsor, which means ICOM has donated $1,000 to DX Marathon. I would like to see more corporate sponsors. There's 1,000 level, there's a 500 which is gold, and there's a 250 that's silver. So again, this is all in our fundraising that we're trying to do. This I'll summarize by saying, why participate? Paula, who belongs to the Northern Illinois DX Association, I love what she wrote me here. She said, "For me, the marathon is a great incentive to get on the air and work DX, even though I already have all entities confirmed and have too many other fun activities to make a competitive effort. I'm very happy running my own race, see if I can improve my results, and add some challenge band countries and digital contacts along the way, turn into a decent effort to support my local DX club score, and keep the station running in top condition." Man, she said it all there. I salute those of you who dedicate the time needed to compete for the awards. Why do you participate in marathon? Good luck to all in 2025. I just love this quote. She says everything that I said for the last 40 minutes, but she's an amazing woman. That's all I have. I know we have a few on here. I can entertain any questions, but thank you all so much for listening, and just do it. Just do it with DX Marathon. You'll have a ball. I promise you. Dan, back to you.
Can you answer one question? Because I've seen a few in the chat. A lot of people on here are fairly new to ham radio. And for the record, exactly what is DX?
DX, okay, my definition, I'm an old school guy. DX, when I call CQDX, okay, and I kind of get upset about this, to be honest with you. DX to me means a country entity outside of your own country. That's it. I call DX any Caribbean station because that's outside of the US. I call Mexico DX. North America, I mean Canada, I don't call DX. Okay, but I'll answer. If I call CQDX on FT8 and a Canadian, I love Canadians. Never met a Canadian I didn't like. If a Canadian, I'll answer him because it's a different country. Mexico for sure. Anything outside of the US. What kind of makes me upset is I'm calling CQDX and I get a W3 call me. That's not DX. It might be DX to hip. DX is an acronym for distance, but in the normal nomenclature within ham radio, as long as I've been in this hobby, DX means an entity outside your own country. Thanks for the question, Barry.
And there are what, 325 listed countries? Or entities anyway. The rocks in the Pacific aren't really countries.
Actually, I don't know the difference between the countries and the activation that are uninhabited. I don't know that split. I should. But if you add the country entities and you add all the legitimate DXCC entities, activations, it's 340. 340. And then we add 6
Right.
to include the worked all Europe stations, those ones I showed earlier. So that's the total. And I know of no more than that. But that's a good question. I'm going to find that out. What are the actual considered countries where you have inhabitants that are active every year versus those that are uninhabited that need activation? They need people going there. Good question.
Anybody else? Question, raise your hand, open up unmute and ask the question. And Dan is back, he's unmuted.
Well, I've been here all along, enjoying the program.
Mm-hmm. I know you have to run, so we don't want to keep you that long.
Okay. I'm going to do another one. That's the first time I ever did that.
Go ahead, Anthony.
If there's other questions, I'll be happy to stay around and answer questions for people.
Anthony, thank you. He knows about as much of this program as I do, and I thank Anthony for all he does for the program. And he's a very active participant.
If anyone has any, I'll be happy to demonstrate the tool for them if they want to see it or anything like that.
Okay. Good night, everybody. 7-3.
Good night. Thank you.
You bet.
All right.
If anyone has any questions about the process, I can demonstrate how it works. It's pretty simple, actually.
Why don't you go ahead and do it for us?
I will do that.
Motion detected at the driveway.
So if you go to the DX Marathon website, wait, my share is not working. Let me try that again.
And make Anthony a co-host.
Okay, there we go. Are you seeing my share now?
Yep.
Okay, so you need to go into the DX Marathon site, and then you go to Resources, then Software Tools, and then here's the entry tool right here. So I'm going to bring it up. Now, you need to export your log from into an ADIF file, and almost every log has a way to do that. I'll demonstrate on my particular log. I'll just do an ADIF export. So Tools. One second here. Let me close this other window. So it's typically under Tools or under Files where you do that. Okay, let me close this window, please. And almost every program could do it, and if you're using QRZ for your log, you can export from there also. So I'm going to say I want to export. I only want to export the files from this year. 0101 2026. I'll just give it a quick name here. 2026 01 21. Okay, so that's done. And then you go to load a file. You pick your ADIF file that you just downloaded. And what it'll do is it'll go through and fill out the countries that you've worked. So I've worked Fiji so far, Jamaica, Barbados, Chile, Cuba, etc. On each one, it'll tell you a couple pieces of information. It'll tell you the date you worked, the band, the mode, the call sign, and then it'll say QSL or it'll say QSO. If you've already confirmed it in your logging software, it will say QSL. If you've not confirmed it yet, it'll just say QSO. Both are fine, but if you have a choice, always pick the QSL because you know for sure that even though you thought you worked it, you know the other station knows you worked it also. So these all show up here. The 6 countries that Mark was talking about, the WAE countries, are Sicily, African, Italy, which is Lampedusa, and those other islands in that area. And I haven't worked any of those yet, but I have worked Sicily. So these are the extra ones you get that aren't on the ARRL DXCC list. The other thing is the zones. And the zones automatically fill in for most countries from your ADIF file. And again, you can see I've worked 33 contacts in Western North America, of course, but I've only worked 16 of the 40 zones. I haven't worked a lot yet this year. And you can see this. And anytime you want to, you can click on this little pencil and you can choose a different entity if you want, a different call sign. So you can pick a different one if you want a different one, it's fine, but you can do any of these. And that's pretty much the way you submit it. You need to go in and fill out your information with your name, and you need to pick your category and all that, and it actually picks your category for you. You tell how much power you operate, you tell what kind of antennas you have, and then that'll choose your category. So there's 6 categories, and basically there's a high power category with unlimited antennas, a high power category with limited antennas, a medium power up to 100 watts with limited antennas, and one with any kind of antennas you want to use, and then the same thing with 5 watts or less in the QRP category. There's a leaderboard, so when you submit your scores, you can see who's going on. They just posted this today, so there are no, well, there's one person up there so far in that category, and this has only been up for a couple hours. And so this will gradually fill in. So you get an idea how you're doing. Not everyone submits their logs all through the year, so you don't know that you're necessarily at the top or not until the very end. You have until January 5th to turn in your log for 2026, and all the contacts you make from January 1st through December 31st UTC count. Does anyone have any other questions? If you're just getting started with DXing and HF, it's a great way to do that at the same time. If you've been doing it for a long time, it's a great way because every year all the countries are a brand new opportunity. So on January 1st, every country I work is a new country until I work the second one of that.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Don't be afraid to ask questions if you have questions.
Alrighty, with that, thank you for everybody for participating tonight. It's been a great presentation. See you next week. Bye now.
Hello.